What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Shibui Anime Tavern, brought to you in part by Nova Circuit. I'm Jeff. With me today is the good man, Jason.
Hey, how's it going?
And we're here to talk about episode 3 of Delicious in Dungeon. And I'm just like waiting for this show's fall off, and it just like don't do it. It's just a really good show.
I want to, yeah, it's pretty good. And like if you've like watched the previous 2 reviews of ours, I'm like, I need action, and we kind of got a little bit more action than usual in this one.
We did, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was excited, and you learn more about almost like their past, Laos's past.
Yep.
A little bit more too, but yeah, no, this one was a good one. Yeah, like you said, you're trying to find something to like nitpick and be like, all right, this is what they're doing badly, but
I really am. But it's like, man, I love everything about this.
Yeah, it's just been fun and enjoyable, and you know, this episode, like I said, we got more action than normal, like than we usually, and it was still really, really good. I was just like, all right, cool. You in the beginning, you kind of get like a history of like not in the basically the beginning where you get a history of Laos and kind of like how he almost like a PTSD of this part of the dungeon that he remembers after.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what it is.
Yeah, but like even before that, Chilchunk like messing up his sword, which kind of draws that story back. Which what Chilchunk uses his master of finding these traps, finds the little door, and it opens his this dungeon, and Laos is like, oh man, like I'm looking for this piece that fell off my sword, and they're making Chilchunk feel like shit for
right. Meanwhile, he's tried to like glue it back on and all kinds of different things.
But then they talk about how he got that sword, and it just so happens that coincidence, the dungeon that they're stepping into is kind of where he got it. Him and his sister.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So they've been there before, and so this episode is basically about living suits of armor, and how they go about dealing with them and that sort of thing. So they kind of they like want to just run through it because Laos is like you said, he has like trauma about the suits of armor, and then the other ones
he has a fear of them or something.
Yeah, he does basically.
Yeah.
So they just want to run to the end of the door real quick and get in there before they start moving. Because usually it's like 1 or 2 of them moves.
And they're slow.
Yeah,
like
and they're
like,
slow.
Well, we can outpace them, yeah.
Yep, so they start hauling ass towards this door, and all of a sudden they all come alive and swarm towards the door.
Yep.
And they're like oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they're just like, they had to retreat back and get back like on the other side of the door. They're like, all right, hold on, we gotta think about this real quick. And then they come to the conclusion that, all right, well, someone's puppeting.
We need distractions.
Yeah, we need distractions. Someone's puppeting, and whatever is behind the door that we ran to is basically controlling these things. So they come up with a plan where they're all going to distract while Laos kind of like sneaks his way in the dark quietly around to the door to get in on the other side and stop whoever this puppet master is, or whoever, because they think it's someone's using it with magic. They think it's being controlled by magic. So the whole plan's going down. The team seems like they're holding their own against these living weapons, these suit of armors being controlled by magic.
And then Laos proceeds to comically sneak by all of them and like get into the big door at the end.
Oh, and then, he finds another living armor on the other side.
He does, but this one's way cooler. It's got it's all like decked out, man. It's like got a freaking lion head and a big ass shield.
Gladiator.
It did, yeah. It was really cool looking, and that really like put him off because he's like, oh man, this one's even worse than the other ones.
Yeah, this one's stronger for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he feels like this suit of armor is the master somehow, or he notices the little cocoon thing on the back of the shield, and he's like, could that be what's controlling it? What's going on?
Right, so, that's what kind of tips him off to like, oh, it's protecting the shield, and it has this weird cocoon thing on the back of it.
Mm-hmm. Almost like an egg, yeah.
Yeah. So he kind of tries to devise a plan to get it off, and his sword breaks.
Yeah.
So he's like stuck with nothing. So he ends up getting I think he threw some of the bricks, right?
Yeah, he threw a brick. Yeah, he started eating bricks. That's all he had. So that's when he realized when it protected the shield. When he threw the first brick, he was like, "Oh, it's protecting that shield." So, but I mean, so then he ended up with the head of this thing. While he's hiding, he's the thing's trying to find its head. He realizes it's attacking like the wrong spots. He's like, "That's weird." He's like, it can't see. And then when he like looks inside the helmet, he notices that well, there's living things in there.
Yeah, he sees it like behind like a flap or another piece of metal in the helmet.
Yep. Almost like it's cocooned itself inside to like protect itself as well. So like no one can see it on the inside. Yeah. So he realizes that there's these creatures called mollusk or whatever, and I guess they work together to like basically hold themselves together almost like a human like muscle tissue. Yeah. He realizes that's how this is happening. So when he figures it out, he's able to like eventually claim victory over this thing. And then he has to warn the party.
He does. It's pretty funny how he like rips it apart piece by piece too.
Oh,
he just starts like ripping the pieces off, and like it's just humorous. And then he grabs. Go ahead. So he ends up grabbing the shield with the cocoon on it and tosses it through the door past all the other suits of armor so that they go chasing it.
But now he finds out that there's these living things, and he asks, Senshi. I think Senshi. Yeah, he's like, "Hey man, can we cook these?" And he's like, "I've never cooked these before."
Right, and then he kind of explains that they're like shellfish, so he kind of goes about preparing them like that.
Oh yeah.
And then I think that's about the episode. Oh, Laos gets a new sword. He takes the thing's sword, and we don't really know what it is. If it's one of those mollusk in it, or if it's like
I think it is.
See, it was weird because none of the other ones had eyeballs, but this one had eyeballs.
At least eyeballs that we didn't see.
That's true. We didn't,
because they were all in their shell, their little shell.
I guess the ones like he peeled out and stuff, you couldn't see eyeballs, but they kind of like came out like you'd think of like a snail or something.
Mm-hmm. And he protected it. He didn't say anything. It's like Laos is like, "Nah, I'm gonna just keep with this weird creature thing that I found in the store." Maybe he felt like bad for it because they kind of ate his whole family, or maybe Laos wants that to breed so he can eat more.
I don't know. See, I thought that part was really weird, man. I was like, why? What are you doing?
I thought Laos and them should have got armor, because I thought that armor, the gladiator looking armor from that one thing, I was like, oh, they cooked everything out of it. I was like, he could. I thought he was gonna armor up, but no, he
so
just
did
wanted
I.
the sword. Yeah, he just wanted the sword, because they always like pan to the armor sitting there, a full suit. No extras, and I was like, oh, they're gonna have the armor too, but no, he just took the sword, and there's that living mollusk in it, and I don't know if the mollusk, like I said, I don't know anything, but I don't know if the mollusk is gonna be any significance in the future, or if we're even going to see it again, but it lives in this sword, and he has a new sword now, and it's basically the upgraded version of a living weapon that he fought before. So he's desperate for a new sword anyways.
So we're 3 episodes into this. Who is your favorite character? Like, who are you liking?
Marcel, because
same here, man.
She's the best. Just like
there's a scene in this one where she just does comical shit. Like, she takes her staff and is like pulling on his head with it and stuff. Like the way she gets scared, she's probably my favorite character so far.
I like how she's like, nah, I don't want to eat any food, and then she ends up eating it, and it's like, all right, like, I don't want to say it's good, but it's good.
She's just all right with it, Yeah,
she's a really good comic relief, and I feel like I
am glad we got to see more fighting in this episode and some actual action. Actually, the beginning part with the flashback with Laos was kind of rough. It wasn't funny at all, man. It was like pretty dramatic.
Right. It was his and his sister's like first big quest, and they were with these gold scrapers. That's what the groups were called, where they would go through old dungeons, because the dungeons used to be like rich with gold, and people would scrape their gold off the dungeons, and that was their first quest. And like, they didn't want to continue on, but they were like, well, the path back is just as bad, and we can't survive that alone. So they still went, and Laos got his sword, but in the same time, he got killed too, which I guess they respawn in this world. So
Yeah, they did. I think it was episode 1. They kind of talked about it, and they were talking about being, you could resurrect people basically. Like you can tell he's definitely gotten better at fighting and stuff when it comes to like present time. So it was a good flashback.
It was. It was good to
I mean, overall, it's a good episode, man. I enjoy every single one of them so far. I've loved. So
yeah, this one's probably one of my favorite ones so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because the action and we kind of move forward from like the character development part. I mean, it was kind of developing for Laos, but we already knew Laos's intentions from episode 1. But it was kind of good to see that he has fear and there's crazy things in these dungeons, and he was able to eat something in the end. Every time they find something new that they're gonna eat, so
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
me and Margaret talked about this, but we both liked how in every one so far they've like done the dishes after they ate. They just start like cleaning them and stuff,
which is proper because they're sentient.
It is,
dishes,
yeah.
Right?
And I mean, they're also in a dungeon too. You know what I mean? They got to carry this shit with them. So,
but yeah, episode 3. Yeah. And we'll be back next week for episode 4. So make sure you guys slap that subscribe button, hit the like, ring the notification bell, and we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. Peace.
Later.